Yeah, I don't think we can.
I agree with you. I don't see how we can. Not from that brief exchange.
This, I think, is the central point of the difference between us, and we would frankly prefer to leave out mobilize, direct, and just say coordinate. Or if you couldn't accept that, perhaps just say mobilize and coordinate. But we think direct is a word we'd prefer to avoid if possible. And I think if you say coordinate, you get the same force.
From the point of view of the UN objection to that is from the point of view of your own voluntary agencies.
There's also the UN system, who constitutionally cannot be directed. Now, it may be that under the impetus of popular emotion over the present tragedy, for example, you might get a bit of a grip. But if they resented what was being done, and if it were in any case beyond our constitutional power, in fact, to do it, then in due course you'd find the old situation recurring. I think as public emotion over the present tragedy subsided.
We've heard from a fellow in Martin Hill's office, this chap Jensen. Do you know him?
Mm-hmm.
He says that direct is a word which he thinks the agencies would find very...
Well, I'm not so sure. I disagree with that. So have I.
And one of them is back down. The FAO doesn't seem to mind it.
That's right, and UNICEF certainly is back down.
Yeah.
Now, I was just...
WHO hasn't backed down, and UNESCO wouldn't back down.
Well, I don't know. I'm just...
You see, the trouble is we don't have, in fact, the Secretary General doesn't have power to direct, unless there are necessary bodies so decreed.
What does direct mean? It doesn't mean direct in the sense of operating those things. It's directing the allocation of these activities, or the allocation of resources for these activities. Now, if you said, this is taking some liberty perhaps with our draft, but if you said mobilize, direct, and coordinate arrangements for the relief activities of... You're directing, like a traffic cop directs traffic, but he doesn't drive all the vehicles. In that sense, it's a direction. It's not only a coordination, it's a direction. He decides...
Well, arrangements for it bring it nearer for our point, I think. I don't know what you think. I still think we'll have more resistance than you expect.
I think we could accept mobilize, because that's...
Sure.
But I must say I'd feel much happier if it was mobilize and coordinate.
But it's not a question of your happiness.
Well, it's a question of getting...
But it's also a question of efficacy, isn't it? If the effect of having the word is to get people's backs up, it's not going to help. If we cannot make it good, and their backs are up, then they will backslide anyway.
Perhaps we could reach a compromise whereby, over my sort of dead body, we agree to this, but that if there is great objection and people put forward amendments, we accept the amendments if there seems to be great support for them.
I think it was good. If we say for the moment we accepted your form words, preferably with arrangements for, and we ran into trouble, I think we each have to play it by ear and not necessarily try to keep it quite in line.
We may have to just part on this.
Yeah,
but I hope not. I hope you could see if you can't buy arrangements for, because it might be a kind of a middle ground.
So we've got mobilize, direct, and coordinate.
Arrangements for the relief activities.
You can mobilize arrangements, can you?
Yeah.
Sure. Can't you? I don't know.
But perhaps we could just come back to that at the very end.
Yes, that's a drafting point, isn't it? Not substance.
Yeah, that's... To cooperate actively. That's pretty well merged.
And perhaps R8 is we consider enough not to have the awful word direct, but I think since you took the initiative on this, we could leave it in at this stage.
Should we put in arrangements for it? Bothers your grammar. I don't insist on that grammar. Let's leave it out.
Well, it's nearer our concept, and we also think it's more likely to invite cooperation. We do think you're going to run into headaches at direct.
Well,
constitutional involvement.
What I'm saying is mobilize, direct, and coordinate the relief activities is preferable to leave in grammatically as well as otherwise. But should we just leave it in and see where it stands?
Leave out arrangements for it.
See how far it goes. Run it up the flagpole, as I say.
Well, okay, but I think that if this gets into trouble in the Council, we, for our part, will have to start backing off direct.
Right. If, for example...
And we'll come back nearer to the invitation concept.
Might I just record that we have made a slight concession in that I don't think we need mention Geneva. We were thinking of mentioning Geneva in our first draft, but I'm advised that Jensen said that really you can really forget about location for the time being and sort that out later.
That's better, I think. Okay. Now what do we do next? Put it together?
Do either of us have to refer that to start with? I don't think we do at this stage, no?
I think we'll have to explain our acceptance.
I think we have to
direct.
explain, yeah.
I think we'll have to explain to London that we've accepted direct.
Well, let's go back.
We'll go back.
Send this by telegram almost.
Yeah.
Yes, efforts was